Here.
Eric Morset.
Here.
Al Silverstein here. I need a motion for approval of the June 17, 2021 meeting minutes.
So move.
Motion by Barbara. Need a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Eric. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion, all those opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion has it. The minutes are approved. We're going to get an executive director report from Mr. Kelly. Welcome on board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to be here and welcome to hello to everyone. And I just want to start off right off the bat by saying that thanks, Tony. You know, he did a great job for us. It was a temporary opportunity. Tony and I have been friends for 19 years and colleagues for 17 of those years. And really the governor's office said, who can help get this thing started while we're in a position of getting things organized? And my first thought was Tony, and he had retired almost 2 years before that. I said, Tony, you know, we need you. He stepped up. He always steps up. Smart guy. He's a go-getter. And I'm grateful to him for being here. It's going to be a little bit of a change for you guys. I know, just getting used to somebody else, and I'm going to try and make that easy for you. But Tony's just been a dear friend, and I had to comment and just say thanks, Tony, really, for all he did to get us started. And with that, then I'll go ahead and get into some of the specifics. I'm going to try, one of the things you're going to find out within 3 or 4 seconds, while I might be somewhat computer literate, I'm not very good at a lot of the graphic stuff. So bear with me for just a second here. I'm already not seeing what I'm looking for. What I'm attempting to do is to share my screen with you guys to go over just a few of the items for this report. If I can, I'll just go over it. There it is. With any luck, this is coming up. So just to give you a sense of what activity we took, what significant types of activity we had over the last month, there were three items. One was in Baltimore City, it was seizure of other tobacco products, very similar, Commissioner Walton, what you had went on with Agent Mangold, the same kind of an incident. We had over 3,000 sticks of other tobacco products. A second occurred out in Washington County, where our agent had seized untaxed OTP. In this case, it was a hookah product. And in the last, which just happened the other day, it was alcohol sales without a license. I just want to spend a couple of seconds on that because that was kind of an interesting case. We've received some information that there was a location in Anne Arundel County, and this location had been selling alcohol. And didn't have a license. So our agent went out there, did a little bit of scouting, and did what he could from the outside, but then contacted Anne Arundel County Police because this wasn't the county, and asked if they had an undercover officer inside and see if they could make a purchase of alcohol product. He was successful in doing that, and as a result, they got a warrant. From that warrant, they executed that just last week and had seized a decent amount of liquor, a little bit of wine, and a decent amount also of beer in cans. And just, it's kind of interesting because this is set up to be a restaurant. There's a pool table inside and some other amusements, but it's not a bar by any stretch, and they don't have a license. But yet they were brash enough to have this looking like a bar, identifying cocktail drinks, rail drinks, which is kind of an interesting thing. So the agent was able to go in and successfully make an arrest of this contraband product. And interestingly as well, while they were doing a search warrant, and they did it in conjunction with the Anne Arundel County Police, as I mentioned, they found a product of, I hope I'm not going to lose you guys. I'm getting a message that they're going to restart my computer. If they do, I'll join you right back. But they also found some marijuana, a significant amount, enough for Anne Arundel County to seize. So that was pretty interesting. This is just to give you an idea of what we do over the course of several years. We try to keep track of our stats. This is our 3 fiscal years of information, which just ended June 30th of last month. And you can see that our violations of tobacco, our violations means citations we've issued, arrests we've made, that sort of thing, confiscations we've made, have remained fairly consistent, even though we went through a year of COVID. While the state shut down in many ways, we did not stop at all. We continued working. We did maybe a month and a half to 2 months where we decreased activities. And after that, we got back. This is a monthly report that I get that lets me know what our status is relative to us having how many tobacco inspections we do each year, how many alcohol inspections. Really don't have to pay attention to the motor fuel license and business regulations. We don't do that anymore. But what I thought was significant, again, during the last year of COVID, is while there are roughly 6,200 retail locations in the state, and we try to conduct inspections, 2,466 inspections each year, and the 205 tells me how many each month we try to do to stay on target. At the end of the year, we did 144% during this past year of what our goal is. And I'm really proud of our team for doing that. So it's hard to do on a good year, and this was not a good year, and we still were able to make it work. Same thing, I'm sorry, that was tobacco. Same thing with alcohol. Almost 9,000 alcohol retailers. We try to do 2,200 inspections. The reason it's fewer for alcohol is the alcohol inspection is much more drawn out than the tobacco. Tobacco is fairly quick. There's a lot more to alcohol inspection at a time. Even at that, 106% of our goal we met in this really weird and different fall. Give you a sense of what we do issue licenses since you guys have begun. January 1st of this year, we've issued almost 1,000 brand new licenses and permits to a variety of applicants. Again, we didn't stop working just because the time was very difficult. Also, over the course of the last year, you can't see this because it's hidden, but it's just a little over 7,000 renewals that we've mailed out. That's people who already have permits and licenses who we expect are going to continue. We've sent out renewal coupons for each of them. And we'll talk about this in just a little bit later. Mr. Chair, that would be sort of kind of where we are, what we've been doing so far.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the training and advisories?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. As I'm fumbling through, I already know. I don't know if you can see this on my screen or not, but they're going to restart me in a matter of minutes here. So again, if I get disconnected, I apologize for that, and I will work very hard to get back in. Okay, and I may have gone over that very quickly. We have, I want to show you, can we come back to the training advisors? I'm sorry, because I'm afraid they're going to cut me off, and I don't want to mess up on that. I'm afraid that I might.
Do you want to move to something else, or just wait until they restart you?
I'm just concerned they're going to cut me off in the middle of this, and out of nowhere they kind of pop us up. I'm happy to give it a shot. Let me just see if we can make it.
Okay.
See, I'll go until they tell me I can't go anymore. I'm going to try and share this with you as well. One of the obligations that you guys have, that we have collectively, is to do some training. And so one of the ways we're going to do it is by publishing some sort of monthly document that is either going to give some information statewide, or it's going to give training statewide. The idea of sending this out, it's going to be to the industry. It's going to be to our fellow regulars at the local level. It's going to be, of course, you guys will have copies of it. It'll be to the health departments. It's going to be to anybody that we think is going to be interested. I think we have a pretty good database of emails to send it to. And at some point, people are going to be able to sign up on our website to get this document automatically as well. But this, I'm not going to ask you to look at it, to read it necessarily now. I will make sure you guys get copies. But I just wanted to see how it's going to look. This will be the header of it. This particular first inaugural edition is really to introduce the ATC, what our goals are, what we hope to accomplish with this, a little bit of the history. And then what are on subsequent pages of this are all of the agents and the areas that they work. So everybody will have ready information, essentially, so any jurisdiction, any health department in a particular area, or any local liquor board in a particular area will be able to use this document to see who works in their area, call them directly, and get whatever help you need. Already, most of our agents work very closely with the local liquor boards. We haven't always had that same close relationship with the departments of health, and I think we're about to get there. We've had a lot of interaction over the last few months, and I'm very much looking forward to that relationship continuing, and it's already paying off quite honestly. We've been getting some great information and tips from health departments that we've been able to act on. So that's what's going to go out, not necessarily monthly, but often. It may be monthly. It'll be periodically at least. And in some instances, it's going to be really heavy in training. In some cases, it's going to be FYI or sharing points of interest or items of interest that other jurisdictions have that we think might be something that would be beneficial statewide. That would be that.
I had a quick question about that. Would it be possible to include like the contact information for the members of the commission as well in the in that document?
Okay, so you mean like this introductory portion of it? And that's a great idea.
Yeah, just like the email address for the commissioners, just so that folks are able to access us.
We will absolutely do that. And in fact, yeah, that's a wonderful idea. I wasn't going to have this in there every month. I was doing it this first time so people have it, and it will be posted online, so it'll always be available. But that's a great idea. So I would ask if you would be so kind as to email me.
Sure.
Unless if you're using your MDATC email, I have that. If you have a more preferred email address, send that to me, and I'll add that as well as any contact information you want. If you'll be so kind, send it to me. I will make sure we include it in this edition.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Great idea.
Okay. Our next agenda item is from the Department of Health with Dawn Berkowitz.
So thanks, Alan. I don't have a copy of the agenda. I'm happy to speak to whatever I can, but Barb had reached out to me about 20 minutes before the meeting saying I was on the agenda, but I haven't seen it. So I'm happy to continue the discussions we've had in previous months, or was there something specific?
Well, I think, Dawn,
We do have this nice document that Dawn was kind enough to put together for us, kind of talking a little bit about where our responsibilities overlap with what she and her group do. Maybe we could review that.
That'd be great.
yes.
Sure. And I know we have some partners from our legal for public health, public health policy on the line as well. So I think we've talked about this before, but my center, so I'm the director for the Center for Tobacco Prevention and Control with the Department of Health. And one of the entities we fund is a legal resource center for public health policy at the University of Maryland School of Law. And Jeff has worked with them and my colleague Kathy Hoke very closely over the years. We've had a really close partnership with Jeff and Tony and his crew, especially over the last several years as we have been funding local health departments to conduct compliance checks on tobacco retailers, on licensed tobacco retailers, and referring those retailers who have multiple violations to the comptroller's office, which has now moved to the ATC. In addition, when we were looking through the responsibilities of the ATC, there are a lot of areas. It talks about alcohol and in more specificity, and then there's some language that says and the same types of issues for tobacco. So there are a lot of things either through my office directly, in coordination with the local health departments and with the Legal Resource Center that we do. So you all do have a copy of this document?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And I think one of my concerns was just looking at the legislative intent was, there was certain information that they would require from us trying to ascertain what they're really looking for, and we'll work with Jeff on that. But looking at who else is out in the field doing research that we can access so that we can incorporate that in the information we provide the legislature. And if there are suggestions for changes in legislation, well, we want to get that from other parties that are working in the field of alcohol, tobacco, and cessation. So, that was really good to have this information available to us. And I appreciate Barbara reaching out.
As do I. And the Legal Resource Center, is broader for public health policy. So there is some alcohol work that they have been doing, like with the first one, tracking alcohol laws. So there's some overlap there. And hi, Kathy. And some
hi, guys. I'll just say hi. I've been on to do a presentation. I think most, if not all of you were on for that, but I'm the director of the Legal Resource Center at the School of Law. Blair Ennis and Brooke Torton of my staff are also on. I'm going to have to run to another meeting shortly, but I have like 10 minutes if there are questions for what we do. But everything Dawn said, and in that chart, Barbara, that she said we do, and I'm happy to support you however necessary. Jeff knows me long time, so.
Well, I think for those of us who are new to this game, it's good to know what the resources are out there.
That's right.
For sure.
So thank you.
Yes. So
Barbara, do you have anything else you wanted to have Dawn talk about?
Well, I'm just wondering if maybe the same way we get some other standardized reports when we meet every month, if Dawn, it would be possible maybe to give you a little forewarning and plan a little segment each time we meet for the areas that you do, which look like they mostly overlap with the education and the conducting studies, to make sure the areas that we're supposed to be involved in there, we're checking in with you to hear the latest.
Yeah, that's great. And then, on the last page, I had added some information, looking back on the EFACTS task force from, I guess, the end of 19 and the beginning of 2020, and looking at the proliferation of e-cigarette use, or as we have them in Maryland, electronic smoking device use among those underage, and recommendations from that report that I think, there's area for the task force to take on.
That's great.
Anything else, Don or Eric or Jeff, that you want to talk?
No, I just for me, any additional information as it comes in, I'm just curious about this space. So I'm not sure if there's a way for us to get regular kind of updates on kind of burgeoning research or developments in the area, just so that we are most educated as kind of as more information arises. That'd be helpful for me, just as we continue to educate ourselves on how best to do our work.
Okay. Any specific topics?
So I'm curious about best practices in terms of communicating this information, and just general information about different cohorts of people that are, I think, experiencing or experimenting with like cigarettes and e-cigarettes and alcohol use and consumption. I'm very curious about how it kind of penetrates the state. Like, if you have any information in terms of different cohorts and demographic information on where the kind of on who and where these kinds of growth that might be happening for like young people that are experimenting with alcohol and tobacco use and the like.
Yeah, I can absolutely share data on that. Another thing that my office does, which I don't think I put in here, is we do administer the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, Youth Tobacco Survey, which is required by Maryland statute in the fall of even calendar years. So it's a school-based study, so we weren't able to do it in 2020 because the kids weren't in school, but we're getting ready to go into the field this fall. And it's about 70 or 80,000 middle school and high school youth. So the last data we have is from the 2018-2019 school year, but it's not just tobacco, it's all risk behavior. So I can definitely share some data or present some data on that as well, if you'd like.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. I appreciate you joining us today.
Yep, happy to.
Jeff, our next item is funding supplemental budget deficiency. And I know you have yourself and Jen Bresler on the agenda.
I'm going to ask Jen to speak on this because I'm getting cut off in 1 second.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Jen.
Is it shutting you off, Jeff? It looks like it.
He looks frozen.
He does, unfortunately. It's been happening all day here. The same thing. Well, he has the presentation.
Okay.
Give me just a minute and hold on. Let me pull mine up because I was not prepared for this.
Well, I'm just reading off the agenda.
The dog ate my homework.
Exactly. Okay, let's see if I can do the share screen here. Well, wait, Jeff. Okay.
And Jen, just as I understand it, of course, everything has been in the controller's office. Everything stayed in place when this ATC was created, so that all of the equipment, everything else actually is the controller's equipment. Is that not correct?
That is correct. However, I did some research and found how we can transfer the equipment over to the ATC. So we will begin that process soon. I've already started working with administration and finance to transfer the vehicles. And
Okay.
then, yeah, we'll roll along from there.
Okay, so we don't have to go out and buy all of those things.
Not everything, no.
Okay. All right, just checking.
I'm sorry. I'm going to get back on my phone, at least for the time being.
That's great. So who wants to proceed with the?
I'll just start right now, if I might. And Jen, thank you so much for covering. I know Jen just said we don't own anything. They transferred positions and they transferred some amount of money that would cover the salary of those positions and just a little bit more, but not a whole lot more. That got us through to July 1st. From July 1st, the budget that became effective then was one that was drafted before. Thinking about this, it was drafted before the commission began, so it also didn't have any input from the commission. And in my mind, it's somewhat of a bare bones budget, and it doesn't provide for all this equipment, but our MOU allows us to continue to use the equipment. And as Jen said, she's found a way to start migrating some of that equipment over into our inventory. And I hope that the funds necessary to operate the equipment also migrate to some extent. Our budget this year, and I can't see this because it's so small, but our budget this year is somewhere around $3.5 million. Which it takes care of salaries, certainly, and it takes care of some additional items like fuel, our vehicles, maintenance, not our vehicles themselves, but maintenance and fuel for them. It's still kind of a small budget. We think we may end up spending more than that amount. We've been in contact with DBM, and I inadvertently misled you using the wrong terminology last time. I thought they were asking us for supplemental budget information. In fact, they were asking us for deficiency spending information, which is like, what do we think we're going to be spending money on that we don't have money for right now, that wasn't allocated for? So that is the column, the fourth column that you see in here is, I think it's maybe one, I'm not sure, 1 point some million. Again, I can't see.
76992 projected deficit. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we asked for.
$1,330,155. Yeah.
Right, that's it. Yes, sir. And now we asked for that, and that was, and honestly, this was not an inflated request. This is a realistic request of what we think we would need in order to do similar kind of work that we did previous to the commission being the commission. You'll see at the top, we asked for 15 new positions, 3 on the administrative side, and really the rest would be used to buy agents to do the field work, because what we've had to do is reallocate either our agents or our agent vacancies to administrative tasks that the commission must do. No one says the commission must do inspections, although that's a large part of what we do. And it's a reason, a big part of why we exist, at least half of it. But it does say we must conduct research and do studies and provide training. So absent anything else, any other help with the budget or with staffing, we've reallocated agents positions to administrative positions because we have to do these things. What we asked for are some additional positions. I'm not so sure we're going to get those this year, but I will say, in discussing some of our concerns with the Deputy Secretary of Department of Budget and Management, he said our budget is a work in progress. I told him I feel like we're not funded sufficiently, and he said this is a work in progress, not unusual or uncommon for a new agency.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I just think that, like everything else, as much information as we have and know where we're at financially is really important. And then, you can call on us to work with you if you need help on the legislative side.
You can count on that. Yes, sir.
Okay, our next item is management associate selection. And I'll throw that back over to you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So this is a contractual position. Of all of the budgeted positions we have, of which there are 30, we have one contractual position that is a management assistant, and a management assistant is a secretarial support type position. And And I feel like you guys are going to need that. I think the members of the commission are going to need somebody who can take care of some routine tasks at times, and it may be difficult to get a hold of someone, but this person's first priority will be to take care of things that you guys need on the commission. It will be to help with the schedule. It will be a help with the agenda. It will be to organize and record these meetings that we have. It will be to take minutes. There will be many functions there. I don't know that that will be a 40-hour-a-week job, but nonetheless, when that's not happening, I would expect that position would be working to help really where we need a lot of help is to help our licensing crew keep up with all the applications that come in. I told you we have over 7,000 renewals. We've done almost 1,000 brand new licenses for the year. We have 3 people to do that. It's almost a monumental task. So to have that extra person when not otherwise tasked with helping you guys with things to do that work is going to be so helpful. So that's my thought for that position. Why I wanted to bring this up is part of the law says that, we can hire people for you with your advice and consent. And I'm not sure how you want to go about doing that, because I think where we're stuck is this is a merit position. It's like a general employee's position will be on the general employee's pay scale. I feel like we have to go through the routine HR way of hiring somebody, which is put together a job announcement and it's announced for 2 weeks. We get a list of, we could very well get a list of 100 candidates or more for this job. We have to identify what makes a candidate best qualified, narrow that down to maybe 20 or 30 if we can. Then we've got to conduct interviews. And then after that, we have candidates. I'm not sure what role you want to play in that, or where you want to, where you think we should be with your advice and consent on hiring this person. If we should go through the regular HR process of the state and then present the name to you and the background of this individual, and then you can decide. Or if you'd want to participate in the interviews as well, happy to do that. That's a significant commitment of usually a few days anyway. But I'm not sure where you want to go with that. I was looking for a little direction on how you wanted us to proceed.
Barbara, your thoughts?
Those are good questions. I think whatever normal procedures you have in place, if we could get the information of how various candidates might be put forth for consideration, I think that would be good. I agree it's not going to be a full-time position. It might be just a couple hours a week. So it could easily be tacked on to existing people if there were existing people.
The thing is with hiring this position, and because I feel like the line we're going to walk is our obligation to follow state personnel protocols also. And interestingly, when we get done interviewing for these positions, however many people we interview, every person who gets an interview, we have to they get a numerical score based on the interview, and then we have to submit that sheet in the order of the number, of their ranking, and an explanation as to whether or not they're going to be offered the job, and if not, why not, and if so, why so. So I'm not sure. Again, I'm a little stuck on the advise and consent, because that's usually where an appointing authority just picks you or doesn't, and you guys have to weigh in and decide if you concur or not. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. So if you'd like, perhaps what we could do is go through the regular process. We can share with you what, when it's all said and done, maybe the top 4 or 5 candidates, and let you know what order they came out in, and just see if we're lucky, and we're usually pretty fortunate that we get good candidates, and the people on top are usually the better candidates.
Do you have existing scoring systems already in place?
I'm sorry?
Do you have existing scoring systems?
We do we kind of do, and what happens as a matter of procedure is when the person is considered best qualified and becomes eligible for an interview, it's a structured interview process. We send the questions to one of the fair practice officers, and the fair practices officer will take a look at the questions to make sure they're appropriate. So they have to be approved, so that we're not asking questions that are not consistent, that aren't job related, pertinent to the tasks. So once they get signed off, and the questions are the same, I guess the subjectivity comes during the interview itself, when people evaluate how they feel the candidate answered the questions. And what's interesting about this, I've been on many boards myself, as I suspect many of you have. The board is usually pretty close. It's usually pretty close when a candidate comes in. There are some people who just knock your socks off, and there are some people who didn't do quite as well. And generally the interviewers pick that up. But it's not there. It's not so much that there's a check off of did they say this, and mark it off and add it up. It really is how did they answer the question. The answers are transcribed as best as each of the interviewers can do. So there's at least 3 interviewers in each panel. And then the scores are tabulated and an average is determined.
Eric, your thoughts?
Yes, I think I've seen this more on the federal side for like I used to work at the Federal Reserve, and they have folks who are up for like a president of the Reserve Bank slot, and usually like in that process, it's a selection committee is convened, they go through their process, and the recommended person is presented before the board for an up or down decision. I think that process in like the federal context works pretty well. I'm curious about a few different things though, in terms of like if we're going through a general process. I assume because we have an open committee process, we should probably go into an executive session when we consider a candidate so that their privacy is respected and the like. So I would hope that like as we contemplate this, like we consult counsel, consult a lawyer, making sure that whichever course we decide is consistent with Maryland state law, right? And making sure that however we decide to go do this, it's appropriate and legal and lawful and the like, and respects the privacy of those folks that we ultimately decide on. But I'd recommend. I feel comfortable with the idea of going down a course where you all go through your normal process and you provide a recommendation, and we go into executive session and we make a determination based on that, and we say if we, after weighing the considerations that you all have weighed, come to the same conclusion, we'll consent or not. If we have a differing opinion as a body, we send it back and ask for you guys to redo that process. If that were to, that would be my thought on that.
And that's like a workable, good solution.
Yeah, I think, if you present us 2 or 3 finalist candidates and that information, and as Eric said, under Maryland state law, we're allowed to go into executive session for personnel issues. Then we can talk that through and give you our thoughts, and then you can move forward and hire an individual.
Great. Terrific. We'll do that.
All right, the next item is hiring a paid advisor.
So I can tell you that was Commissioner Poole suggested that. I think what he was looking to do was to bring Tony back in an advisory capacity. I didn't talk to him. I know Jen spoke to him personally, specifically about that, but I don't think it was a whole lot more than he was just interested in seeing if we could bring Tony back in a paid advisory capacity.
Okay. Well, I think we can hold that over and have that fleshed out a little bit more so we can fully understand his thoughts. Okay. Next item is disparity among county liquor laws, grocery store sales, and that was also from Commissioner Poole. And being he's not on the call, we'll hold that over. Future meetings, virtual or in person. Is the next item. Thoughts? Jeff, are other commissions starting to meet at the Capitol? Or are they still...
I don't know that they are, and I'll tell you the local liquor boards, as far as holding their meetings, are still doing it virtually. And I don't know if they'll get back to a point or not. I mean, I think they're finding it to be a pretty effective way to do their meetings. I'm not sure where they're looking to go, but the local boards are still doing their meetings virtually.
And they're meeting how many times a month? Once or twice?
Once a month. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm just generally curious, like, is it cheaper to just go this way, or I'm just the general matter, like, hey, is this a cheaper way of doing these things, or are there any cost components that we should just be considering in terms of staying virtual or and going back in person? I do want to see all of you in person at some point, though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I think it's cheaper.
I think, when we're talking about the personnel issues or something like that, it might be nice to be able to be in person so that, we can talk through it. I would be interested, Jeff, in finding out what the state's doing. Virtual is nice, but sitting around the table, I'm on a bunch of other commissions and committees, and they're just all starting to get together again. And
find out.
Yeah, find out, would we be meeting in the controller's office when we meet?
That's my guess, and that doesn't, it's not a difficult thing, but we're able to say that it's going to be the third Thursday of each month right now because it doesn't require space. So we'd be in competition for space. I imagine we'd want to use the assembly room, which is one of our larger meeting rooms, and we would be competing with other interests as well to do that. But I'm sure we could find something in the comptroller's complex right now for the meetings.
Okay.
And I'd also flag, if we are going to move back in, like if we are going to move to in person, it might be hard during the work week for me when the Congress is in session. So we might want to revisit some of the scheduling on that, at least if it's conflict.
Yeah, we could do a modified combination of the two, depending upon what the issues are. So that's something for consideration, obviously.
I like your idea, Alan, of maybe moving into this space around the consideration of candidates. So that would be a good reason to come together and maybe do it on a trial basis for that.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Do we have any new business? Okay, if not, I take a motion for adjournment.
I'll move.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All right, a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Both same sign. All right, it was great seeing everybody. Jeff, look forward to working with you. And Dawn, thank you very much for joining us today. And everybody else who's on the call, thank you very much for your interest. And we look forward to meeting all of you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.